Hey, what's up everybody? Wes here. Thanks for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the 5 steps that you're going to need to take in order to get your vending machine business off the ground. This is also going to apply to any other smaller business that requires an LLC or sole proprietorship designation. On top of that, I'm also going to show you 5 additional steps/tips that are going to help your business become more successful a lot faster. So step number 1 that you're going to want to take in creating your new business, it kind of goes without saying, but that's going to be to come up with a business name. Even a logo if you want, but the business name is very important. It seems like you could just come up with any name and start doing business, and likely you could, but you need to think down the line, and if you're gonna grow your business, you're gonna wanna have a name that's actually something that you own and that you can use legally within your state. So once you came up with a few names that you think you wanna go with, what you're gonna wanna do is go to your respective state's Secretary of State website. Since I'm in North Carolina, I would go to ncsos.gov. If you're in California, you would do casos.gov. Every state's gonna have one, and you're gonna need to register your business or your business name with that Secretary of State. And you can venture right over to their website. You can click on Start a New Business. But initially what you're gonna wanna do is to search for businesses that are existing within your state to make sure that that name isn't already in use and registered somewhere else. That way you know that it's going to be your name and you can use it legally. Once you find out that it's available, you can go ahead and decide if you're going to register it as an LLC or a sole proprietorship. It's roughly $125, at least here in North Carolina, to get your LLC set up, and then it costs $200 a year to maintain that. But that's going to give you protection for that name. It's going to allow you to use that and no one else to be doing business under that name. So that's something that you're going to really want to do right off the bat. Before you register your name, you want to make sure that you go to GoDaddy or one of these domain name sites and search that business name there or your preferred website with that name. Make sure that it's also available just in case that affects your decision on what name you're going to use. And it's ultimately up to you to decide if you want to do an LLC or a sole proprietorship for something of this size. I will make a note that single member LLCs and just LLCs in general are seen as a more legitimate business in the eyes of the IRS. And they do offer you a little bit more protection. And I'm gonna go over that more in depth in a future video. All right, so now that we've got the name hammered down, you've got your LLC designation or sole proprietorship, and you've secured your domain name. Step 2 is gonna be to get your EIN number. Your EIN number is an employer identification number, also known as a federal employer identification number. And what this is a unique 9-digit number assigned to you by the IRS for the purposes of identifying your business quickly and easily on their end for tax purposes. Luckily, getting this EIN number is very simple. What you're gonna wanna do is go to irs.gov and you'll click on apply for a new EIN. And this is fairly instantaneous. You will have to answer a few questions about the business. And this is why you wanna go ahead and have your business name hammered down, because they're gonna ask for that, the address of the business, some basic information about yourself. Once you submit that information, they're gonna email that to you pretty quickly. And what you're gonna wanna do is save that and print it out for your records. I recommend going ahead and starting a binder for this type of thing. That way you can keep all of your documents in one place. Your EIN number is also used for a few different things, including opening business credit. You'll need that if you decide to get a business credit card, opening a business checking account, which I highly recommend, as well as other things, including paying your monthly or quarterly taxes. And speaking of taxes, that actually takes us right into step 3 of starting a business. And that's going to be going to your Department of Revenue for your state's website and applying, registering as a new business with them. Basically, since I'm in North Carolina, again, I will go to ncdor.gov. If you're in California, go to ca.dor.gov. And every state, again, just like your Secretary of State, every state's going to have one. But you'll go in there and you'll click Register a New Business. And it's going to ask you some more questions about your business, and you're going to get registered with the Department of Revenue. And what this is going to do, this is going to be the site that you're going to go to either monthly or quarterly, depending on how much money you're making, and you're going to submit your sales taxes. So taxes are going to be a big thing. You want to go ahead and make sure you have this part hammered down up front. That way you start off small, get a hang of how to pay your taxes, and then you can just scale as you grow. You don't have to try to figure everything out later or worry about any kind of penalties coming at you from your state. Once you have that set up with your state, you start making money with your business, you're going to be paying taxes again, either quarterly or monthly. If you pay quarterly taxes, that's because you're not making as much money. Once you start having to remit $100 or more on a regular basis for your taxes, they may move you into a monthly setup, but each state may be different. You can also call your Department of Revenue and ask them any questions. They've been super helpful for me anytime I've had any questions tax-wise. So they're going to be a good resource for you moving forward. So now that you're registered with the Department of Revenue in your state, the next thing you're going to do is open up a business checking account. And this is something I highly recommend. Some people decide not to do this, or they maybe decide later on to shift everything to a business account. But it's a smart move just to go ahead and do this up front. There's really very few costs involved with this. Most banks will let you open a business checking account with as little as $5 in the account. Check your local credit unions. Make sure that they're going to be able to offer you checks. Sometimes you'll need a voided check for certain purchases, or if you're setting up your credit card reader, if that's something you decide to do later on. But make sure, just check on the policies for depositing coins, depositing cash, because it's something you'll be doing regularly. And this is going to be a great resource for you if you do use a card reader later, because you can just go ahead and have that money from your card reader sent straight to your bank account. It's going to keep all of your funds separate from your personal account. So it's going to allow you easier tracking on your business accounts. And this is a point where I also recommend creating some sort of a spreadsheet. That way, if you're getting weekly deposits from your card reader, you can insert them into that spreadsheet to keep track of them. And then every time you make a cash or change deposit, just put the date and how much was submitted there. Keep all of your receipts. But again, being super organized up front is going to be your friend later on as you expand and grow your business. All right, so now we're 4 steps in. The 5th step to starting your business and getting everything set up the right way is to apply for a certificate of exemption for the big box stores such as Sam's or Costco, any of your local grocers, anywhere that you're going to be purchasing your products for resale, your snacks, your candy, your drinks. So what's going to happen, being that you're paying sales tax to the Department of Revenue either monthly or quarterly, it wouldn't make sense for you to purchase your drinks and your snacks from a store, pay tax on them, and then have to pay tax on it again once you've made money from the sales. So what this certificate of exemption does, it allows you to make your snack and drink purchases exempt from taxes. It's tax-free to purchase that. I have a Sam's Club account and I filled out some paperwork with them. You can usually go to the customer service area or call them. They'll give you the certificate of exemption application. You'll put down your EIN number, your bank account information, anything that they need to get you set up. And then basically they'll link that to your member card. And when you go to make a purchase, it's going to ask you if it's going to be tax exempt or taxed. It's very important that the only thing that you click tax exempt for are the snacks and drinks that you're going to be reselling. This doesn't go towards office items, vending equipment, anything that's just going to be equipment that you're going to use because you're not reselling that. Again, what's going to happen is you'll, at this point, buy your product tax-free. You'll sell the product through your machine and collect the money. When you deposit that, either every 3 months or every month, depending on your tax schedule, you'll count up the monies that you've got from your sales, and you'll have to figure out your state's percentage on that and then pay that to the Department of Revenue. That way you're only paying tax one time. I know this part can be a little confusing. Again, I hope in later videos here to go ahead and take each step and go a little bit more in depth for you. If you have questions in the meanwhile on this, definitely feel free to comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you. I try to get back to everybody. So now that you've got these 5 steps in place, you've laid a solid groundwork for your business, no matter how big or small you plan to take it. You're going to be doing all the best practices, making sure you keep your money separate and operating the way that you should and paying your taxes, making sure that you're on the right side of the law so that you don't run into any trouble later. Now we're going to move on to the 5 tips that I've got for you. Arguably some of these could be required steps, but the next one I'm going to mention is to inquire about business insurance. You can also call any company that you're currently insured with, whether it be your home or your vehicle, and just let them know that you've started a new business, let them know that it's a vending business, and ask about what insurance they recommend that you get. It should be fairly cheap. Most likely they're going to recommend that you get product liability insurance. This is going to cover you in case someone buys something from your machine and gets sick. Maybe Snickers ran a bad batch. You don't know that. You just bought it from Sam's and put it in your machine. This is going to cover you from any type of liability on that end. But just check with them. Definitely business insurance is something you want to have. Maybe the machine tips over because someone was rocking it. So you just want to make sure that all of your bases are covered insurance-wise. Another important step that you can take, and this is something that I utilized, was to apply for business credit. This allowed me to purchase brand new machines as needed. So when you get a business credit card, you can shop online for those. Make sure you get one with a $0 annual fee, unless you're going to be using it enough to justify that. What I did, I used a Chase Inc. card, and I was able to get 12 months, 0 interest. You'll need your EIN number for this, but once you get your credit card, you'll get 12 to 15 months, no interest. And then oftentimes they're gonna offer you between $300 and $500 cash back once you make a minimum purchase. Usually that's around the $3,000 range. And so a brand new machine is gonna cost you about $4,000 to $5,000. So this is a great way to jump into the business if you wanna buy something brand new but can't afford it right now. Basically, you'll make your purchase, you'll exceed that limit of the $3,000 immediately. You'll take that $300 to $500 credit, go ahead and apply it right to your machine. This is something you want to put in your spreadsheet as well to keep track of your payoff, to make sure that you're on schedule to pay that off before your 0% interest expires within 12 months. All right, so now your business is all set up on paper, you have access to capital, and the next step is going to be to make your first purchase. Maybe you've already got a family member or friend who has a business that's going to let you put a machine in. I highly recommend reaching out to your circle of influence, being your family, your friends. Look on Facebook, make posts online. Try to secure that first location, but definitely don't buy a machine up front and then try to place it. These are huge machines, 500 to 600 pounds. Really, when you get a new business, the machine you have, they may not want that one. Maybe they want something else. So you definitely want to make sure you secure the location first and then buy the machine after. New machines have white glove delivery service. And what that means is if I find a business that wants a machine, I can show them different options. They'll pick the one they want that seems to best suit them, and then I'll make the purchase. And then that white glove delivery, they're gonna bring that in on a box truck or a delivery van, and they'll actually drop the machine out for you at no charge as part of the new machine purchase. And then also let the business know that it is gonna take about 2 to 3 weeks for delivery on these machines. Sometimes it could be more depending on where it's coming from, but it's a good idea to give them a heads up on that. That way they know what kind of a lead time that they're dealing with on this machine. But some things that you might want to do in the meanwhile, or some things that I highly recommend you do in the meanwhile once you've ordered your first machine and you're waiting on the delivery, is to go ahead and get online and download the e-manual for that machine, read it and be familiar with it. They're easily accessible. It's the same manual that's going to come with your machine, but you're going to want to know as much about it up front as you can. That way when it gets delivered, you can go in there, unwrap the machine and get it stocked and set up, looking like you know what you're doing. And then keep in mind too that the snacks, initially to fill a combination machine, it's gonna be about $200 to $300 up front to go to Sam's and make that purchase. So make sure you have funds set aside or capital available to make that purchase, and a way to get all those snacks back and forth to the machine. That way you can get everything stocked up and get it off and running as quickly as possible. Another good idea, something to be doing in this meantime, is to start reaching out to repairmen in your area as well as movers. There's a chance that your machine may have an issue, and if it's something that you're not handy with, something you don't think you're going to be able to repair, make sure that you've got some good contacts in this area of service prior to needing them. That way, as soon as an issue arises with your machine, you'll have someone to call or a couple of people to call to get quotes and get that fixed super quickly. That way you don't have any issues with your location, you keep them happy, just keep everything running smoothly as possible. And then another thing, in case something happens and they'd ask you to move your machine, maybe they're shutting down the business, you never know what's gonna happen. Maybe you get bumped by another vendor. You're gonna need a way to get that machine out of there pretty quickly. I try to write a clause in giving me about 30 days to remove a machine upon request, but having movers on hand and having some quotes on hand is gonna give you kind of a leg up if that ever happens. And that way you won't have to make a purchase out of desperation or do something like trying to move the machine yourself. Another optional step that you might want to take is to create your business Facebook page. I do this and get some leads that way from time to time. They're not always the best leads, but you can always explain to them, your minimum requirements for your machine. But it's a free way to advertise. You can just go ahead and put your logo on there, describe your business, put your area of service, and let them know who you are and what you do. And then you can also share this page on your personal page, and that lets all of your friends and family know that you're now in business, and they're going to be a great way to get your first lead, even maybe your second and third leads, and kind of get your business growing. Some people decide to make a website right off the bat. I had done that initially, but then wound up pulling that offline. I do have my Google page. That way they can search me on Google to make sure they know I'm a business. but by having a website, it provided almost a little too much exposure. I had a lot of calls coming in from small mom and pop stores, places that maybe had 2 or 3 employees asking about machines, places I wouldn't want to put those because it just wouldn't make me any money. So I really just run the Facebook page. That way I can share that with anybody who's interested, share it with my family and friends, and then also have just my Google business page listed and try to get some reviews on there. That's going to help you a lot too if you have some friends that can drop you a couple of reviews, and it's going to make you look that much more credible as a business if a location goes to search you after you've made initial contact with them. And the last step that I could recommend for you is, especially if you're breaking into this business new like I did, is to make sure that you ask for help if you need it. Nobody knows everything. There's guys that have been doing this for 20, 30 years who still ask each other for help. There's some great resources out there, some great Facebook pages that you can join about full line vending. If you have to make a repair, they can often tell you what parts you're gonna need, offer you parts, ship you parts. There's how-to videos online. I try to post those as things come up. But Facebook and YouTube are gonna be great resources for you during this time. But another super helpful thing that I found that I was previously unaware of was small business incubators. There was one in my area, and I think most areas do have some kind of a small business center or a small business incubator. Maybe they're standalone entities, or maybe they're part of a local community college. But I reached out to mine, and they said that they have free classes on taxes, starting businesses, creating LLCs, different free resources that you can sit in on, trainings as well. And then luckily enough, I was actually able to sit down with a CPA for 2 free 30-minute sessions. And anybody that knows anything about CPAs and how much they cost, this is an invaluable resource. It's kind of somebody to bounce ideas off of, sit down and let them know what business you're in, what your game plan is, and they'll kind of go over everything with you to make sure that you haven't missed anything. So definitely look into things like that in your area. It's going to be, again, super invaluable. It's going to help you out more than you can ever imagine, just kind of being able to sit down and get that reassurance from someone who knows the taxes in your local area. But I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, I hope to put out some more vending videos in the near future. I've got a few locations kind of on the line right now that I'm hoping to put some machines in very quickly. I've also partnered with Pepsi. I'll expound more on that later. But again, I'll try to get some more content out as quickly as possible. In the meanwhile, I am going to go over these first 5 steps and try to show you a little bit more in depth on how to do each one. That way, in case you had any questions, I can hopefully answer those in the following videos. But again, in the meanwhile, feel free to comment below if it helped you out, like the video, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. All right, thanks guys, see ya.